Godoy. Con más de 15 años de experiencia en marketing y sólida experiencia del mercado de creación de contenidos, trabajando en grandes empresas tecnológicas que impulsan la economía creativa en América Latina. Apasionado por desarrollar productos globales para mercados locales, liderea Canva Latinoamérica, enfocado en impulsar el desarrollo y crecimiento de la plataforma en la región. Cree en el poder de la creatividad para transformar realidades. Por eso, pretende proponer la innovación y facilitar la creación de contenidos de forma accesible e inspiradora. ¡Fuerte el aplauso!
Muchas gracias. Hola. Thank you very much for having me here. Mi español no es tan bueno así, por eso voy a empezar en inglés. I'm so glad to be here today with you to talk about AI and how can you increase your productivity and also your creativity using AI. But before I start, what if I say that I use AI to build this presentation today? What if I say that I prompt the tool with create a presentation about AI in marketing? How you would feel about that? What is the value of this presentation and how much attention you would pay on that? But what if I say that I use AI, but I select specific books, relevant articles that will cover the topics that I want to talk to you today? I select some real examples, success cases, wins and learns, and I brought my experience here. How you would feel about that? What is the difference between the two versions? And how much attention you would pay on that? But while you're thinking on that, let me introduce myself. I'm Felipe Godoy, Canva Marketing Lead for Latin America. I work for Canva for 2 years, leading the Latin region from marketing. And before Canva, I used to work at Pinterest for almost 5 years. I was leading the growth team. So my background is pretty strong on content creation, creator economy, and now with Canva, I can better understand how design and visual communication can help you and your business. But let's get back to the first question. So what is the difference between the two versions? The first one feels like 100% AI made. So you may think like, I can get that by myself. And the second one has this human touch. That's my knowledge, my experience. So you could say that is 30% human made and 70% AI, because if you think on like the time to produce the presentation itself, or we could say that is 70% human, 30% AI, if you consider my knowledge and everything that I put it here. But the proportion is not the point. The point is we need to see AI as a tool, as something that will empower us, that we're going to use to get even better results. And we are always thinking on AI replacing our work and everything, but I think we need to understand what AI is. And could we say that AI is intelligent, artificial intelligence is intelligent? There's a lot of debate about it, but isn't this a better way to process data, a more sophisticated way to do it? And even harder is to say, is AI creative? Because if you're thinking about AI replacing us, it should be creative. And for us to better understand that, let's get back to what creativity is. So there's a lot of definitions about creativity, but there's 4 main points from that. The first one is novelty. So in order to call something creative, it has to be something new. Otherwise, it will be something that is already there. It's just a copy. And there's another point, imagination. To create something new, we need to imagine something new. So imagination is very important in that process, and it's a very important point for creativity. Also, creativity is focused on solving a problem. It could be a new method or something like this. But the fourth point is creativity. It's very connected to the human experience. It's very connected to the individual. We always think about creativity as like art, someone expressing themselves. But maybe it's time for us to redefine what creativity is, but more important than that is redefine what ownership, the ownership of the process. Because we're gonna be always between completely handmade and fully automated. Because everything that we're doing right now, we are doing using some tools, devices, so we're not gonna be completely handmade anymore. But also, we're not in the fully automated. There's a lot of human touch in that process, the prompt, the guidance that you give to the tool. So we are somewhere between, and very hard to define where we are. One good example of that and how to think about it, we have this example from an artist that trained AI with his own art. And then he asked AI to create another piece. And the question is,
it's very hard to say like how much is the artist and how much is AI.
But it's very hard to say.
But
like,
the main
how
point
much
is
the artist and how much is
AI will not replace our creativity. It's actually going to empower, and we need to understand how to
replace our creativity. It's actually going to empower, and we need to understand how to use that in order to take advantage of this. Because the skills are changing. If it was important 4 years ago to know how to draw or know how to use a specific tool, now it's important to understand how to use artificial intelligence in our favor. And how we are using artificial intelligence and how we are connecting in that process. When you think about the prompt engineering, you see that there's two main aspects here. The first one is the iteration. So in order for us to get the output that we want, we probably need several interactions. And those interactions will always consider the previous one. So it's kind of the way that we guide the tool to that process to get what we want. And there's also the creation aspect, because I will prompt something and the AI will give me something back. And I will need to understand what is aligned to what we want. So I'm kind of curating what I'm getting out of it. So the process is about us interacting and guiding the tool, and also this feedback loop on what I'm getting, how close it is to what I want, and what I need to change in order to go to the direction that I want. But how Canva is placed in that ecosystem, in the design AI. And for those who don't know, Canva is an Australian company that was founded more than 10 years ago. It has more than 4,000 employees, and our AI features would use more than 6.5 billion times. We have more than 230 million users in 190 countries. We are a profitable company, and used by main companies like Coca-Cola, FedEx, PayPal, but also for small, medium business, solopreneurs, nannies creating their visual assets to sell their products online, students using the presentation. Because Canva made design easy and accessible to everyone. Because this is part of our mission, to empower everyone to design. And it's important to understand what empower means to us. Empower is giving access to people to a tool that they can use to produce something that they will feel proud of and that it will help them and their business succeed. And it's exactly what Canva is doing. Canva is an accessible tool for two main reasons. The first one is it's easy to use. It's very intuitive. You don't need to spend a lot of time training and trying to understand. And also, it's very affordable. We do have a freemium version where we can get everything that you need and you can produce great design for free. And the Pro version is very affordable. So Canva is very accessible. And if you compare Canva with the traditional design tools, you'll see that the main difference is that Canva is much easier to do, to use, and it's going to save you a lot of time. And how AI will help us? We think that AI is actually helping us going even further. It's going to make things even simpler and faster and easier for you, our users. This is a very good example. Imagine that you have this video and you want to remove the background, you need to include the text, you need to include motion. So everything that you need to do, you can do in a very easy way, in a very fast way with Canva. When Canva was created, we had a very complex design ecosystem. If you think about the back then, you probably would need 2 or 3 tools to get what you want, to finish your design. And the process was not only complex because you need to use more than one tool, but every tool was very complex. You need to invest a lot of time to learn that. They were also very expensive. That's why we create Canva. Canva was created to have an end-to-end process. So everything that you need from a design perspective, you can get using Canva. So you can find the image, you can edit, you can include fonts, you can print or you can post everything that you need. You're gonna do it in a very easy way using Canva. And when you think about the AI ecosystem right now, it feels the same. It's very complex, very fragmented. We have hundreds, thousands of new tools and new applications. So how we're gonna work on that? We actually made a survey last year with marketing leads. And we're trying to understand how do they see AI. And 69% of them feels like we have too many tools. And 65% feels overwhelming to learn a new tool. And 54% of them feel like, what am I gonna do in terms of the new tools? How can I understand what is coming? So it's a very overwhelming process because at the end, you're running your business, you're living your life, and you also have to deal with all that information. So it's very overwhelming to understand what tools should I use and what for, and to learn those tools. So Canva made the decision to connect everything that you need from a design perspective, everything from AI, and include it on Canva. So we embedded AI in our doc types. And it makes easy for everyone because you already know how to use Canva. And now you can use Canva with AI. So you already know it's pretty simple. You don't need to adapt to a new tool. And some examples is the Magic Write. This is pretty much what we think about when you talk about generative AI. So you have a prompt that is a request, and you're gonna get a text out of it. It could be 5 posts for your social media, or it could be something more complex like a marketing plan for your business. You're gonna get a text with ideas that you can refine. So the process is pretty much that. But we also have Magic Media. That is the same flow. I have a prompt, a request, but instead of getting a text, I'm gonna get an image out of it. And how powerful it is to create something new, an image that I don't have, but I imagine, and I can create that. And that is very powerful because if I don't have it, I can create. And the main point here is I can have whatever I want, what image I want. And the main point is I will probably need to understand what I want, and there where imagination will arrive, and where we're gonna see that creativity is very necessary in that process. And we're gonna talk more about that. But the main interesting thing about Canva and AI is that we know our users. We know their pain points, what do they use our tool for, what do they need from a design platform. So what we did is, based on our knowledge, we create AI features that people will know how to use for their specific use cases. So it's pretty simple. You have a feature that you know what it is for, you know how to use, you just press a button, and you're gonna get what you want. Some examples are resize and magic switch. So imagine that you have that vertical image and you want to make that horizontal. With a press of a button, you can turn that vertical picture in a horizontal without need to do anything else. Or you can turn your presentation in a doc in a few seconds. There's also Magic Grab. Imagine that you have this image, but you need more space. You need to create this headline. So you need to move the key element to the left, to the right. You can reduce it. And AI will rebuild the background in a way that the picture will be perfect and you can have the space that you need. Or for those who are creating content to sell products online, you know how important it is to have good pictures. But not only pictures of your product. pictures of your product being used in that scene. So it's pretty important for people to understand what you're selling and how they're going to use it. So if you don't have that image, you can have the scene and you can blend your product, the image of your product in that scene. And AI will rebuild in terms of lightning, shadow, and can help you create the perfect image. For content creators, we know how hard it is to create videos, and we know that it's also very hard to understand what is the optimal length. It used to be like long videos, then we went for short videos like 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Now we're talking about 1 minute and 3 minutes. So in order for us to optimize that process, what you can do is I have a 10-minute video, and I can break that down in shorter videos. But you don't need to do that manually. You can just upload the video in our tool, and we'll cut in a way that will create shorter videos based on the topics that you're talking. So the tool will understand when the topic starts and then ends, and it's going to create a video on that. And the last one, just to give you another example, is enhance voice. We know how important it is to produce high-quality videos, and the sound is one of the main aspects in a video. So it's important to have good quality, but sometimes you're creating the content at the street and you can control the environment. So you can use AI to have a better quality and get the perfect sound. And we do have hundreds of other tools that we can use, and let's not forget that all those tools were built in a way that will be very simple to use, because you know what you need and you're gonna know how to use that for. But we also know that AI is evolving, and is evolving very fast. So if today we can design anything, tomorrow any digital content can be remixed. So imagine that today I have this image and I can blend this image in that scene. I can include another image, and everything will feel like it is already there. But we can also create something from zero, like this video. I didn't use any previous image. That was created only prompting the tool. So it will create something brand new without the need of a shoot or a video to create this. And the editing process is being transformed. And because it's getting more easier, faster and cheaper, faster and cheaper. So everyone could do it. It's easier in a way that everyone will know how to do it. It's faster in a way that everyone will have time to do it. It's faster in a way that everyone will have time to do it. And it's cheaper, so it's affordable, and people will have access to it. So we talked a lot about productivity and how fast the process is, but let's deep dive a little bit on creativity. In the same survey that we ran last year, we saw that 69% of marketing leaders said that AI is helping their teams to be more creative. It's easy to understand because at the end, we are reducing the repetitive tasks. So you're going to have more free time to be more strategical, to think more about what you're creating, to put more thought and understand how what we are creating is connected to the strategy. So at the end, you're going to have more time to think about the process and be more creative. And also, it will create endless possibilities. As I said on Magic Media, if I don't have an image, I can create it. And that is the main point. I can do whatever I want, but I need to understand what I want. And there is where imagination and creativity will arrive and will be necessary in that process. Because you can empower your creativity if you have a better and facilitate your creation process. If you make that easier and faster, it allows you to create more and create better. Because right now, we have quality and quantity. And I think that is very interesting to think about, because in 5 years ago, we probably need to choose between one of them, between quality or quantity. We could not get both of them. But it's important right now to have both. Imagine that you are creating your business and you need to create your online presence. It's very important for you to post frequently. But also it's important to you to have high quality content. So you need quantity and you need quality. You need both. And now that you have both, what you can do with that? So I think the main point for us is we have the opportunity to think what we can do with everything that is being offered to us. And we can think on AI and how can it empower us. And now that we have quality and quantity, what I can do with that? So let's think on these three main points. So now that I have AI helping me, let's create multiple versions of my design. And by creating multiple versions, I can better understand what I want to get out of it. Let's test and learn. We always talk about it, but it's important to always keep testing and include the learning process in our content creation. And I'm going to talk more about this. And third is be bolder. I could never say to you to be bolder if you're spending 3 hours or 5 hours to create something. If you're spending that amount of time, you're going to probably want to do that for the first time right. You don't want to spend more 3 hours, 5 hours creating something new. So when you think about create multiple versions, it's about explore possibilities. So when I have that process, when I start to think and create, I will better understand what I can do with that. So it's kind of an internal process of understand what can I get out of it and how that is aligned to what we want, what I want. So it's important for you to experiment the two and getting different versions of it. But also, it's important to test and learn. The external feedback is very important. Because if now I have the possibility to create multiple versions, let's hear our audience. Because at the end, we're creating these visual assets, these designs for our audience. And it's important for us to test that in real world. So we're creating that digitally. But let's hear our community. Let's see what is going to generate more engagement, what is connected to them, and what is going to generate the results that we're expecting. And let's use that information to include in the process for the next ones. And be bolder. So it's very important for us to take risks because creativity is all about taking risks. Because remember, when you talk about creativity, we're talking about creating something new. We talked about imagination. So if you're just doing what the others are doing, you're not going to be creative. So creativity is about taking risks. And as I said before, if you're not spending more hours doing it, if you can do that in a few minutes, you can test something new. Even though you're not so sure if that is going to work, you're going to spend, I don't know, 15 minutes to create something. So you can use that time to create something that you're not so sure about, but at the end, you can end up with something that is very unique, that belongs to you and is going to help differentiate your content and your brand. Because at the end, creativity is what gonna makes you stand out. Because as I said, everyone will have access to the same tools. Everyone can create the same content. The access to the tools are all the tools are pretty accessible, easy to use, faster and cheaper. So if everyone has access to the same tools and can produce the same thing, the creativity is what gonna makes you stand out. Is gonna want to create something that's gonna differentiate you from your competitors and from others. Thank you very much. I think we have 2 minutes for a question. So we have one question at least. 2, maybe 3. Is someone with the microphone? No. Maybe I can try to hear you.
Thank you. Thank you, Felipe. So I am part of that 65% that says that learning AI is overwhelming. I know there is plenty of different apps, tools for improving that, and sometimes I feel like overwhelmed. So can you give us an advice to be more focused on the important?
Yes.
For example, I have Canva Premium, but I've never used it, you know? And I actually have just canceled it because I was like, I don't use it.
That is my advice. You shouldn't cancel it.
Okay, I will use it this month because it ends on the next month on May. So, and then I am a content creator on YouTube, but I don't know. I think can you give us like an advice to be more focused, more disciplined, and how do you? What is your vision about the future of the content creator of this industry of
Yes.
the orange economy?
Yes, okay, let's break down. But
Thank you.
I think the main point is like we are all overwhelmed with all the AI tools, and it's very hard to keep up with everything that is happening. So what I'm trying to say is not just because I work for Canva, is that when you use a tool that you're already familiar with, it's gonna make much easier for you to understand how to use that. So instead of learning a new tool, you can use the resources that we already have. So it's gonna be much easier for you to understand how to use, because learning a new tool, it's a process that definitely I feel like worth the time, but sometimes you don't have the time to invest in so many different tools. So I think it's important to focus and use what what you need for. And if you need design, I would say that Canva can offer a lot of AI tools that will support you. From the content creation perspective, I think the creator economy is growing a lot. I see that happening in Brazil and in Mexico, and I think it's just the beginning. There's a lot of new opportunities. Recently, what we saw is that it's not only important like for you as a content creator to be a big content creator, like we have more niche creators that are very important to brands, and all the UGC content that now given opportunity to content creators. So I feel like the creator economy is growing and giving more opportunities to everyone. So my advice for content creators is stay true to your content, engage